Well, it's here. The podcast. Which I'm kind of looking forward to. I've got mixed emotions on this because I don't really know how we're going to do it. I mean, we've got some talking points, but I think for the most part we're going to wing it and just see what happens.
Sounds good.
Nice. So, we were thinking about what we're going to talk about this week, which was actually a little bit harder than what I anticipated. I want to make sure that we're bringing value with this. One of the big things I don't want to do is just be rambling on here, so I want to make sure that we are providing value. So we need feedback. This is the early first renditions of this podcast idea. So if we get on a rambling tangent, please let us know. You're not hurting our feelings. We're trying to make this the most value-added thing that we can possibly do for you guys.
Agreed. So, if this is your first time interacting with us, I'm Laura.
Oh, yeah.
And Alex is the male voice you hear talking. We are trying to make this... We are a PR clothing business work. And it's screen printing. And we do a weekly video, or as weekly as we can get it out video. And it's just kind of our life right now.
It's basically documenting our journey from creation to wherever we wind up. And this week was weird. Is weird the right word? Usually
okay.
I have like an emotional, emotional, I guess that's the right word. Usually I have like an emotional breakdown at some point during the week, and everything, I just feel like the sky is falling. And it's usually because I'm not making enough progress. But if you have looked at our content this week, we are absolutely crushing the content. We put out so much stuff, especially on our Instagram. Like, it's crazy. So, obviously the content's not why I had a breakdown. The breakdown I had was actually what scares me the most. What's my fear? Who am I afraid to fail in front of? And it's weird because you always see the quotes, and you always see everyone always posts about, if you're doing what you love, you won't be afraid.
Yeah, like...
Fear is irrelevant. Run away from fear. Don't have any fear. Live without fear. And we even have a shirt that says fear is not necessary.
Yeah, because, I mean, ultimately, like, you should not be afraid of something, especially if it's something that you're passionate about. But at the same time, like, fear does...
It's real.
Does play a role. And one of those roles is... It's a motivator. And it's... You don't need to be afraid, so fear isn't necessary, but it can be a good tool at the same time.
I think it's an emotion. So it's how you handle that emotion is really what... I guess separates it. You can let it tear you apart. You can keep it built up inside of you and not tell anyone. You can tell everybody. You can it's just an emotion. It's how you handle it, kind of thing. And it's just that. It's an emotion. It's something that if you have fear, that doesn't mean you're not doing something right. Because that was my initial gut reaction, was when and honestly, I don't even know what it was that kind of got me going down this fear path, but it's completely normal. So if you own a business, or you're just doing whatever in your normal life, and you have fear, don't feel like there's something wrong with you. Because I'm telling you right now that I have it, and I feel like everyone should have it to an extent. It's an emotion. It's how you channel that energy towards that emotion. You can use it to move you forward, or you can let it consume you. I mean, obviously that's a very black and white outlook on it, but that's kind of what it comes down to. So what I hit earlier in this week was, I'm terrified that I'm going to be 37 and look back on today or earlier this week, and I'm going to say, holy cow, I had this opportunity in front of me and I didn't do anything with it. Here I am, 37, not in the exact same spot I was when I was 23 and 24. And I don't know why it just hit me so incredibly hard. And I don't know why. That was just part of it. But, and I actually kept that inside for a while before I even said anything about it. Which, A, is not a good thing. But, B, it's understandable. If you don't have that go-to support system, I guess, right around you.
Or if you're just not entirely sure if you want to verbalize it or how to verbalize it, if it's still like you understand you're afraid of something but you're not exactly sure like what aspect of something you're afraid of. It's hard to explain it to somebody else and make them understand if you're still kind of spinning your wheels on, okay, what's going on in my own head.
Yeah. So what I did, instead of letting that build up inside of me, I decided that I needed to tell every single person in the world. So I hardly ever use my personal Facebook anymore. And I basically typed up this entire thing of everything that terrifies me right now, of how I'm working as an engineer, and I don't want to be there when I'm 37 and look back at this opportunity that I'm living in right now. And that was hard for me. Like, I got nervous typing that. And part of that was because I know that my family's going to see it. I know that my boss at work is going to see it. I know that all my coworkers are going to see it. I know all my friends from college and high school and all my peers in the world that I am friends with are going to see this. It is putting yourself out on the line, very black and white. You are very exposed, and I was very nervous typing it up, and part of me didn't want to type it up, but I kind of backed myself into a corner and said, I really need to get this out. I need to let everybody know around me, kind of thing. I need to let people know what's going on in my head. And I did. And I don't regret it at all. I absolutely don't regret that post that I made, and I don't regret any of the conversations that I've had since then, whether they were negative or positive. I'm glad I had every single conversation. And basically what it boiled down to was, basically a quick summation of the post was, I'm scared that I'm going to be 37 looking back at my life, and I'm going to be in the exact same engineering spot, and I'm not going to progress with We Are PR at all because I don't have the time. Now, I know that's kind of a lame excuse, but as of right now, I mean, there's days where I'm working 22, 21-hour days, and I come to bed, and then I wake up in 3 or 4 hours later and get right back at it. So I'm capitalizing on my time, I feel, but it's hard when you still have 40 hours dedicated to something else. But in some situations, it's not a bad thing. There's a lot that you can get done with still working in a 40-hour work week. I mean, just because you're in a job doesn't, that's not an excuse to just say, well, I'm stuck here. The only way I can move forward is if I just stop working and quit my job. You know?
After kind of like basically exposing that fear to everybody, like, has it changed like your mentality of how you're gonna approach things? Like, is it gonna make your work week longer, like hour wise, or are you gonna like just try and dial in more focused on like?
Before we get into that, I want to touch on the point of you can still get a lot done while working at another job.
Yeah.
And that is a necessity sometimes, especially for us, because I'm married, so obviously that's another level of responsibility that I have. Some of you don't have that responsibility yet, so that's not even a concern. But some of you are married, some of you have kids, some of you even have more than one kid. So we're all in this weird different stage of life, and each one of us has different responsibilities. Obviously, if you're not married, you've got a little bit more leeway because there's not two people that are trying to support. You're not supporting two people. You are supporting yourself, and I mean, obviously, it takes less money to support one person than it does for two. That's easy. But if you are married and you have kids, or if you're just married, you've got to be on the exact same page as with your spouse. And that was a conversation that we had earlier this week, was that, yes, we really want to do this, and both of us believe in this, and it would be absolutely amazing if I could dedicate that, if I could take that 18, 20-hour workday and focus it on nothing but We Are PR, but we wouldn't be able to live financially. We just couldn't. I mean, it's just not in the question. So so this kind of leads into what you asked. So how does that play out? For me, it plays out in creating the content, which is what we're doing. But even more than just putting out the content, our content has to step up even more. We have to become a bigger presence on everything and basically keep building everything up to a much higher standard.
So your content steps up. Does that mean that you're putting out more as well as higher content, or are you just trying to focus on just making the posts that you put out higher?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Both. Definitely both. I mean, if we look at today on Instagram, we had 4 posts today on Instagram.
Right.
And we never do that.
No.
Usually we have 2 posts a week. So I want to really keep the content rolling, and I really want to keep the level. I want to keep setting the bar higher and higher.
Right. So content-wise, that's part of your game plan.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have like a game plan for, or would you have a game plan for, like, okay, if you can get this like really picked up and rolling, do you have
like a transition game plan?
Yeah, of like how you would quantify like when would be a good time to actually make the transition from engineering to focusing on just this? Is it like a financial goal that you would try and set, or like just like a productivity goal or a sales goal on the We Are PR end? Or
I mean, as much as I don't like to quantify things by sales, I think it almost has to be. Not sales, but I think it has to be a revenue.
Right.
I think it has to be where if you can, between the two of us, mm-hmm. no matter what we're doing, we've still got to be able to put food on the table.
Right. So like let's say we were making like,
well, I don't want to do specific numbers.
No, I'm just saying, but like let's say if you're making a certain percentage of the salary you're making at your engineering job, like would that influence you? Like would you See, this is where it gets tricky for me, because part of me knows that in order for this to completely take off, I've got to go all in 100% on it. And that's what you have to do with any goal. Right. It doesn't matter what it is. You've got to go all in on something if you want to get the most benefits from it. So I don't know. That's a hard. I don't know if I have an answer for that. I don't know if I have when I'm making 10% or when I'm making 50% of my salary. This is. Yeah, that's when you would say you can switch or something like that, or
try. I think it's more of a gut reaction, not a gut like impulse reaction.
Right.
But I think it's when I don't know, because I don't want to say it's when all the stars align, because nothing's ever going to line up.
Yeah. It's
never going to be the right time to do it. And I mean, we don't have this figured out yet.
No. This has been a good motivator for you this week, though? Like, does it
Absolutely.
help kickstart
Absolutely.
going into this weekend and this next week and this next month of...
Well, I mean, we'll see. Obviously, it's lit a fire for this week, and it's jumpstart
day by day, but at the same time, like, do you feel like you're in a good spot right now with...
Yeah, I feel like we are in a good spot. Everything's going well. we're producing content, we're producing shirts, we are engaging with people. Like I really like where we're at, and obviously you always want to be hungry for more. But I feel like to some level you have to be content with what you have.
Right.
But at the same on the same flip side of that coin, what you did yesterday does not. I mean that's gone. That day is over and gone with. If you just keep living on what you've already done, that's pointless. No one cares about no one cares about how much you sold last week. No one cares about how many people's lives you changed last week. It's what you are doing right now that's really going to set the pace. So that's it. I mean, there's my thoughts. There's our thoughts on fear and how this has affected us. I want to know, what do you guys think? What would you guys do in my situation if you have a job that is supporting a family, you and your wife? How do you when do you think that cutoff point is? When do you think that you make that leap of faith and say, now is the time? I'm curious. So there's our first ever podcast. I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on it. We're still trying to get the whole cadence down for this and work out all the little kinks, because obviously this is something new for us. But let me know what you thought. If you enjoyed it, we absolutely love the feedback, so we appreciate it. And I don't know if we'll do another one, but we're going to we'll take it in consideration, considering what we get on feedback from this. So thank you guys, we appreciate it, and we will see you whenever.
See ya.